Good evening, race fans. Thank you for tuning into DRL TV. My name is Getty Buckner. I'll be joined tonight by Ryan Hesgard, and it will be our pleasure to bring you live action of the DRL Truck Series. Last week, the DRL Truck Series put on an incredible show at Daytona International Speedway. A last lap pass by Dakota Wilkins was the highlight of an eventful night, but this evening we shift our focus to Week 2 as these drivers try to take on Atlanta Motor Speedway for 82 laps. The surface of this track was last updated in 1997, which gives its characteristics unlike anywhere we will visit all season long. High banking, a slick racing surface, and a narrow dogleg on the front stretch is sure to keep these drivers busy for all 82 laps tonight. Now, Ryan, last week we ran under the lights at Daytona in 60-degree temperatures. Tonight, the race will be much different as the hot Georgia sun is beating down on this racing surface. How much does the driver have to adjust for such a large temperature difference from one week to the next?
Hi, Gaddy. Thanks for having me. First of all, it's got to be a complete mental approach. You at Daytona, you have to be very, very precise. You have to know your movements in and out of lanes in advance. Here, a lot of their movements are going to be, if they can catch the truck. A higher temperature is less room for mistakes when it comes to the grip levels. So it should be exciting. I think the winner of the race tonight is the one that can hold on to the truck the best.
Yeah, currently right now it is set at 89 degrees. That is unusually warm considering this time of year, but that is what iRacing gave us tonight. We do have a full field. It looks like at least 35 drivers will be gridding up tonight. A lot of trucks on track, hot temperatures, and some of the characteristics that we already talked about with Atlanta being slicker than any other track that we're going to go to, narrower. The racing line here isn't as wide as the track is, at least in most cases. So certainly these drivers are going to have their hands full. Now, last season, we had an incredible race here between Eric Johnson and Jeremy Hebel. One of the things that we often love getting here in iRacing is a last lap pass for the win. That's what we had last week, and that's also what we had last year here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Right now, we are being joined by Jeremy Hebel, the winner of last year's race at Atlanta. You certainly know how to get it done. A last lap pass, just like your teammate had last week at Daytona. Jeremy, tell us if you can remember. It was a year ago. How did you do it?
Yeah, that was a fun race. I thought we'd actually have quite a few more cautions than we did. I think we had a couple quick ones and then a nice long run. And the long run on here, as soon as these tires wear out, these trucks get a little difficult to drive. But as long as you can keep it straight, keep it under you, yeah, you should be pretty good, which is what I did. And yeah, I was just in the right place at the right time. I wasn't sure really if that pass on the outside would work, but I just stuck it in there and kept my foot in it and passed them and got the win.
Now, obviously each race is different, but considering that you did win last year in such an incredible fashion, you should be considered a favorite. You return here to the Truck Series this season. Your teammate has a win. Now it's your turn. Is this as good a chance as you have this season at getting a win, or is there other tracks that you are more comfortable at?
I think I'm pretty comfortable here. There's some tracks when they get a little greasy and loose on the long run that I am not quite as good at, but I know like here and when we were at Rockingham, it fit my driving style, and I was able to hang up front the entire time and be around contend for the victory. So that's what I plan on doing today. Hopefully, I can get a good qualifying lap in here because we got quite a few trucks. I would like to start in the front of this field and not the back.
Right, Ryan. Do you have anything here for Jeremy?
I'm just kind of watching here. It looks like you're running fairly consistent, and I know in last night's race that was one of the biggest factors. For the top 10 was you had to be consistent. You had to limit your mistakes. So it looks like from what I can see, you're getting that under control. So good luck to you tonight, and hopefully you can come away here with a top 10 at least.
Yeah, consistency is the name of the game, and it's not something I was always good at, but I seem to get better at kind of pacing myself, racing the racetrack, and not the people around me, and that usually works out pretty good in the end.
Now, Jeremy, over under here, are you going to lead more than one lap tonight?
Maybe. I mean, I do only need to lead one to win, so I mean that's all I
Clearly.
really got to shoot for.
Clearly.
I'm sure I would like to lead more than one, yes.
Awesome. Well, it's a pleasure to have you. We wish you tons of luck tonight. We're actually going to talk to your teammate here in just a second and see what he has to say about tonight's race. You know, he's coming off of a very great win, another last lap pass, led only one lap. So we'll see what you can do tonight.
All right, thanks.
That was Jeremy Hebel, last year's winner. And what we're going to bring in Dakota Wilkins, who was last week's winner. Dakota Wilkins, you got a copy? This is the booth.
Sure do.
Well, you're coming off of an incredible win last week. You know, what can you say about winning at Daytona week 1?
Honestly, it's a dream come true. Never, with how last year went and all that stuff, never thought I'd, get a win and all that stuff. Always seemed like that would have a decent run going. Bad luck would kick in, so it's great to finally get that monkey off my back, and now I can focus on just getting more wins.
Well, you didn't win last year. You were up front often. You already have the one win this season, which is actually one more win than the person that you're currently following, our defending truck champion, Robbie Armstrong. So you don't need to necessarily win to win the championship, but it certainly helps. Now you know you're in the playoffs. Does that do anything for you strategy-wise? I know we talked about it post-race last week, but just to remind the crowd here, I mean, does that change your strategy as we enter these races, knowing you have that win in your back pocket?
I'd say a little bit. I can afford to take some gambles that some other drivers who may not get a win this season or in the hunt for the points, I could take some gambles that they can't. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Move on the next weekend, get that win in my pocket, and if it works, I'll be able to pull out another win.
Well, you're currently, definitely near the top of the leaderboard here for hot lap speed, long run speed here, which is going to be important. Is certainly, remains to be seen. But we hope, hope you have some good luck tonight and enjoy these hot temperatures. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a slick one for sure, but hopefully we can put on a good show for the crowd and get the Jake Silverado in victory lane again.
Awesome. Well, I do appreciate it, Dakota, and we will hopefully we'll speak to you either as a pole sitter or as a top 3 finisher as this race unfolds.
Yeah, hopefully, man.
Ryan, that was Dakota Wilkins. If you didn't watch that race last week as a last lap pass, passing Derek Pemberton, it came down to a restart, which is what happened with you last night. In your victory, you won here last night. Came down to a final restart. Derek Pemberton didn't choose the right lane. You did. Do restarts, lane choice, I mean, I know at Daytona it's completely different, but does that play a factor here at Atlanta?
Absolutely. With the new rule in place with the restart zone, guys got to be conscious of that, and it kind of eliminates that surprise right off the pace car. So it gives it's a little bit more of an advantage, I want to say, to the outside lane or second place car, wherever the line is. At least he knows he can't go before such and such a point. So last night, the last restart, I think the inside line will prevail on the restarts if you can you can time it appropriately. Now, if we didn't have that restart zone, I think last night I most likely would have taken the top lane and been able to apex turn 1 a little better. But with that new restart zone line, I think that's going to definitely tighten up some of these restarts. That should be kind of exciting.
And now, just so you know, right now we are riding on board with Ryan Branch as he is taking a lap here around Atlanta. He's in turn 3 and 4 right now. We're going to show you this line here that Ryan is talking about. It is right there. There's a white line that stretches across the quad oval. You have between that line and when iRacing waves green to go. So the leader kind of controls the start still. I know last night I was able to lead a restart and I was able to still get a good jump, but it's certainly more predictable than it has been in the past. Not every track has that line, so not every track is going to have this rule, but tonight we do have that rule in place. Another driver that I do want to talk to, though, is Jeffrey Meyer. Jeffrey Meyer came on strong last season in the playoffs. He won our first race in the playoffs last season at Las Vegas. That was his only win last season. But as Jeffrey Meyer joins us in the booth now, Jeffrey, what are your chances tonight that you can pull off, the same type of performance that you had at Las Vegas in the playoffs last season?
It's one of my better tracks, so I think I can do pretty good tonight.
Well, we go to Atlanta. If you've practiced during the week at all, and now that you're coming in here, we have 2.5 minutes to go to qualifying. You come in, it's 90 degrees, 89 degrees. The track temp, barring any overcast, will be beyond 100 degrees. Is this truck handling any worse or better than kind of what you expected?
No, it's kind of what I expected. I expected a hot track. I'm gonna slide around. Gotta lift in the corners a little bit and watch how it pushes coming out of 2 and 4. That's the biggest thing. I think there's gonna be a lot of people bouncing off the wall tonight.
Yep, we saw that last night as well. Is there anything here that has maybe thrown a little curveball at you? Is there a surprise here, like maybe a second groove that comes in or something like that?
No, I mean, there is a top groove once your tires get wore a little bit, but no, I think it's pretty normal.
Awesome, Jeff. Well, it's always great to talk to you. Last week, you and your team had an incredible strategy. We called it out in the middle of the race. We knew exactly what you guys were doing, and you put on a clinic, you at Bad Boys Racing. Tonight, team racing doesn't necessarily come into play as much as it does a restrictor plate race, but does your team still have a strategy in play regardless?
Nope, not really much of a strategy. We're going to play this out and see how long runs we can get. I know there's a lot of inexperienced drivers also that we have to work around, so if we can get more than a 20-lap run, I guess I'll be happy.
Right, no, and it's always a surprise here. It seems like when we go to these tougher tracks, you get that surprise green flag run because people are being a little bit more cautious. But right now, you're P5 as far as your hot lap time here, not that far off of Jarrett Rogers, who is leading our practice speed. So hopefully you got a shot at the pole. We'll talk to you if you're a pole sitter. If not, hopefully we talk to you at the end of this race when you're a top 3 finisher.
All right, thank you.
Now, Ryan, we do have 20 seconds to go here till qualifying. We do hot lap qualifying here, just as they would a couple years ago. We don't do open qualifying here. Is there anyone that you might have noticed that you see as almost maybe a little bit of a favorite here once qualifying starts?
I'm gonna pick consistency. I like how consistent Jeffrey Meyer is, and I've been watching him on his laps. If I had to pick a driver, I'm gonna pick him. He may not be showing the speed to top the charts in practice, but that doesn't mean squat after 20 laps. So
Right.
That's my pick.
Right. No, absolutely. Well, as these guys get set to qualify, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back for the starting grid and the green flag here on DRL TV.
Assist to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Rayon Fowler into the outside wall.
He's going to pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's going to get them all done with. What amazing!
Race lead to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is going to touch in. Pit press.
saved it!
What a save!
Look to the outside as Cronkite goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
There's contact though. Slide left of the racetrack. Chris Renner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact. He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cutback here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schumacher, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
Welcome back here to Atlanta Motor Speedway here. Qualifying halfway underway here. We're going to take a quick look at the points before we start tonight's race. 82 laps here at Atlanta, but last week after his incredible emotional win, Dakota Wilkins is leading the points, followed by Derek Pemberton, Daniel Holloway, Steven Sims, and Jeff Meyer, who we just spoke with. A lot of new faces here in the Truck Series. Getting a little bit of overcast here for qualifying, Ryan. Some of the guys that maybe wanted to wait until the end to do their qualifying lap might actually get a little bit of a benefit here.
Yeah, the overcast here is a huge advantage. Even on worn tires, your times will go up, by a tenth at least. So on fresh tires, look for the guys that are taking this to their advantage. They should put down a pretty quick lap here.
And just as the overcast came, it is now gone, as I see here. The sun is back out, but it does cool that track down just for a moment here. We do have partly cloudy conditions. Again, we will pull up this flyer here. Partly cloudy, 89 degrees, no humidity, a little bit of wind here. These trucks are a little bit bigger. The spoilers are a little bit bigger. The wind can affect you, but not nearly, when it's this low. I don't think that'll be coming into play tonight. Now, again, that graphic does say 65 laps. We will be running 82 here tonight. Who do you got here for a win here? As it looks like Jarrett Rogers certainly has the fastest time so far, followed by Terrence Sine, but qualifying only gets you so far here. So who do you think is going to win tonight, buddy?
I still think I'm going to go with that 50 truck of Jeffrey Meyer. Watching him in practice, he was very, very consistent throughout all of his long runs, where a lot of these other guys were practicing their hot laps, trying to get to the top of the board in practice, which is a great thing if we have a race that's full of cautions. But if we do get that one long green flag stop, the guy that practiced the long runs is going to just go right through the field and move right up the leaderboard. So I'm gonna pick Jeffrey Meyer to win at Atlanta tonight.
Now you have Jeffrey Meyer here. I'm gonna go with a guy that kind of got robbed last week, almost almost like an outcast would. Richard Springer, I believe. This is the type of track that he can win at. He won at Kansas last year in the Grand National Series. Kansas, Atlanta. You drive them almost similar, very much on edge. Springer, I think, has a shot here. Another dark horse could be Daniel Holloway, who's been strong as of late, ending the year. I mean, he was just a few laps away from being the champion here in the Truck Series. Another driver we could look out for, a new addition this season, is Derek Pemberton, who had a great run last week at Daytona. Again, Daytona, Atlanta, much different, but you can still take something away from it. The fact that he's very, very aggressive in here, blocking, maintaining your line, it goes a long way. So our drivers are gridding now, and we are just about set to go. We will be bringing in our pole sitter here, the 9 of Jarrett Rogers, if I can find him. The 9 of Jarrett Rogers here. Jarrett Rogers, you got a copy? This is the DRL broadcast booth.
Yeah, I got you. Go ahead.
Well, you come out here, you led practice as far as hot lap time goes. To no surprise, you also come out here and you get the pole. Starting out front here at Atlanta certainly can help you out in the long run here. Tell us kind of how you figured out how to get around here so quick.
I've always had a thing for these mile and a half, man. Last week at Daytona, kind of got off on a bad start, so I really wanted to come out here and put off a good lap. So, just had a good feel for the car and it caught the track with that overcast just right. So, caught me just good right there.
Perfect. Yeah, I know me and Ryan spoke about that earlier. Is there any strategy here tonight, or is it just kind of staying out front and just doing your thing?
I mean, of course, I'd like to stay up here, but I'm going to try and pace myself, maybe watch out for these long runs. I'm sure a lot of people are going to burn these tires off. I wanted to go ahead and get some bonus points, so I figured I'd try and get us up here and just trying to race the track myself and not really pay attention to anyone else.
Right. Well, you're coming off of a disappointing finish last week at Daytona, so certainly a good finish here would go a long way. We know we have a lot of season left, but it wouldn't hurt to try to balance out that rough finish that you had last week.
Yeah, that's the plan.
All right, Jarrett. Remind me your team name so I can drop you down in Discord, sir.
Highwayman Motorsports.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Hopefully we talk to you at the end of the race as a top 3 finisher. Good luck.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, last week, Jarrett Rogers and his teammate actually got caught in a wreck right at the tail end of that Daytona race. So he's certainly coming out here trying to prove a point, try to make up for you know, those lost points that he didn't quite get last week. As we run through this, the official qualifying order here, we've got Jarrett Rogers, Terrence Snee, your front row. One thing we'll see here tonight is battles here while these tires are fresh, and these tires don't stay fresh very long, Ryan.
You got about 3 laps to get some separation before you really need to start saving and start thinking about lap 20. Because if you don't, you are going to the back.
And going to the back here is very significant, as you can tell by the fact that our grid is still running. We have a lot of trucks here tonight. I expect probably a quick caution here. Perhaps, you know, someone underestimating the fact that this is a hot, slick track, but hopefully we can get a long run here. As we are set to go green, pace car on pit road. Green flag is out. Jarrett Rogers leads him down the start-finish line. DRL TV brings you live coverage here at Atlanta. Great jump there by Jarrett as well.
Huge jump by Jarrett. I don't know, I didn't really see if he got past that line or not, but we were talking about that earlier. That's going to be really, really important for that outside lane to pay attention to that, because you don't want this type of jump at the last restart.
Right. No, and looking at that huge gaggle of trucks behind him, Jarrett Rogers, it looks like he will probably get this lap led here, and he officially does. He will get those bonus points that he wanted, but behind him it is absolute mayhem, 2-3 wide as we're going. Turning lap 1 here of 82. Oh, we got Jarrett Rogers' teammate. And Robbie Armstrong caught up in another wreck, second week in a row, as we will watch a replay of that. And we'll try to bring you a replay of that here on ATVO. Wow. David Wellborn caught up in it. Here's the replay. Looks like the 99 gets turned there, and Dakota
dove it in a little too deep there.
What truck number did you say that was?
Looks like Derek Pemberton in the 82 dives it in just a touch too deep. Maybe doesn't anticipate 99 coming down that extra half a lane and causes mayhem.
We're riding on board here with the 99 of Austin Collins. Looks, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of room there, but he just that is very, very unfortunate, and that took out a lot of trucks. Dakota Wilkins, a guy that we just spoke to as well. Very, very disappointing here. Lap 3 of 82. Certainly not when you want to get caught up in a wreck.
Looking at some of these drivers back in the field, Roy Grandy Jr. in the 77 truck. He gets a little bit of damage, but overall he does a pretty good job of avoiding what could have been significantly worse for him.
We're going to try to watch this one more time here. We caught just the tail end there. You can see 82 is going through the dog leg. He does take a little bit of peek. He shows his intentions going into turn 1. It almost looked like the 99 came down on Pemberton's nose there. Either way, that is a lot of trucks. Robbie Armstrong, Dakota Wilkins, the 72. Wow, a lot of trucks there, a lot of trucks. And that is why qualifying is so important here, Ryan.
I'm watching some of these guys that were in the back. The 58 of Adam Purcell, I have no idea how he went right down the middle of everybody. That was very impressive.
Wow. Just wow. That, I mean, you hate to see it, but those large wrecks, I mean, they're always captivating, it seems like. But as we get the track cleaned back up and reset the field, DRL TV will be right back, and we'll bring you the second start of this race, lap 4 of 82 here at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
And welcome back to the Atlanta 100 here. 82 laps scheduled, 6 laps so far have been completed. Our first big caution of the night involving at least 7, 8, 9 trucks. Very, very unfortunate, including our defending champion, Robbie Armstrong, our last week's winner, Dakota Wilkins, as these guys are set to go green here. I'll give this one more time. Certainly thinned out the thinned out the field a little bit. A lot of those trucks will have repairable damage, but it's certainly going to affect them greatly here. As the green flag is out, and Jarrett Rogers gets another great jump here.
That 38, he needs to watch that for that white line. He's kind of getting fooled on it, you know, but he might be trying to let him get out so he can get to the bottom right away. That restarting on that top side, as you see, he's already back to.
Yeah, that whatever strategy he wanted certainly didn't quite work if he was trying to maintain second. As Jeremy Hebel does get around him, the 78 looking inside of Tristan, the 78 of Tristan Anderson, the 30 of Terrence Sine, who was our pole sitter, or he was on the front row, and he is already back to 5th. Chris Rice just behind him in the 0-2. But Jarrett Rogers right now gapping the field by about 0.3 of a second. Jeremy Hebel closely in tow. Speaking with Jeremy Hebel earlier, he only led 1 lap here last race. I expect this season, or this race, he will want to lead a little bit more, get those bonus points. He didn't have a. Oh, we have another caution. The 01 of Adam Breeden, the 94, is involved here, as we will get an instant replay of what happened here. Looking here at the 01. Just gets turned there by the 21 of Richard Springer. We will have to get another look at that here. This is entering the backstretch here. 77 just in front of these two drivers. The 21 gets an incredible run here on the outside.
I think the 01, he just keeps coming up, Maybe he doesn't realize that Springer's on his outside. And Springer he can't drive over the wall, so I mean I don't know there. I think that's more of a spotter issue, but he does take a pretty good tumble down into turn 3.
You know, we saw him flipping around. That is, I think that might just have been a little bit of a lapse there in understanding how much space he had. You're on board with Richard Springer now as he enters turn 1 and 2 again. You see the 01 on the inside. Springer does get that run on the outside. He checks up a little bit for the 77. Right up against the wall, and it looks like he comes down a little, but the 01 could have possibly come up a little as well there. very unfortunate as we are already pacing our second caution of the night here. Lap 10 of 82. And that's another pick of mine that I thought would win the race. So that certainly isn't panning out for my pick here. I'm going to stop picking drivers. Maybe that's a bad sign.
A lot of these guys, you know, and it's more of an experience thing, I feel. A lot of these tracks have, like, grooves in them. They're creases. And that's kind of what, you know, I know you and I know myself, that's kind of what we gauge for lane, quote-unquote, what lane you should be in.
Correct.
Reviewing that, it looks like the 01 definitely crosses into what would essentially be the top lane before there's any contact made with the 21. It's something that these guys are probably going to struggle with a little bit, especially if they're coming off the bottom of the racetrack. Their trucks are going to get slightly loose, and it might be a little bit of a handful about halfway down the backstretch. So it's just something to kind of keep our eyes on here as we get later into this race.
Well, we are pacing here at Atlanta, lap 10 of 82. Next race, though, we will have a little bit more grip. 100 laps here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, 150 miles. Again, similar here to the Georgia climate. We are going to be going to the desert in Las Vegas, Nevada. There's grip at the track, but that doesn't mean that the conditions will necessarily promote it. You never know. And these trucks, as you have already been able to see, a little bit of a handful here, it seems like, when the temperatures are warmer. So Las Vegas will certainly be an incredible journey for these drivers, assuming they get out of Atlanta, if we ever get out of Atlanta. And then our next broadcast will be next Monday as the Cup Series drives to Las Vegas, Nevada. 133 laps here. They're there, and that'll be on Monday with Ryan Branch bringing you the broadcast. And I believe next week all three series will be at Las Vegas, so that'll be a fun race, much different from Atlanta. Still the same concept, though. You have to keep the truck or your car clean until the very end, something that a lot of these guys don't really currently have the benefit of having anymore.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that these cautions have to happen this early. You know, and sometimes there's a benefit to it, kind of, as well. Hopefully the remaining guys that don't have damage calm down a little bit and start giving a little bit more room so they can have the chance to win. It's unfortunate for the guys that were involved in the previous wrecks, but, you know, in my experience, I try to take these early wrecks as okay, calm down. These guys want to race this hard this early. Let them do it, you know. Yeah,
right. Sometimes it's not a bad idea just to let the guy by, but in that last case there, Richard Springer certainly had no choice. He literally had nowhere to go.
He had nowhere to go, yeah.
But as the pace car lights are off, we're on the backstretch, half a lap to go till green. The top 8 drivers here have, you know, they're still on the same tires that we started this race. 9th and back have pitted, you know, maybe because of where they are on the field, or also maybe to fix damage. But currently, right now, 8th, which is Jeffrey Meyer, all the way up here to 1st, and Jarrett Rogers have the same tires here that they started the race with. So maybe if we do get a longer run, all of a sudden, you know, some of these guys in the back, like a Corey Sherman, a Casey Drake, a David Lindvall, maybe they could charge through the field with those fresher tires here.
Another good start for Jarrett there.
A good start for Jarrett, but you can tell the experience that Jeremy Hebel has. He was able to keep it a little bit closer, and he's going to be able to maintain that second spot if he closes the door here on Matthew Pont coming through 1 and 2, which he does do.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is if you can't be side to side with the leader, you need to make sure you get to that bottom lane immediately. There's just so much grip on the bottom right after the restart that you can lose so much time. I mean, we've seen it twice already where the guy that picks the outside lane kind of gets hung out to dry. So they need to learn from these restarts, maybe be a little bit more aggressive and kind of pin Jarrett down so it forces him to not make a mistake. Especially as we get later and later in this track rubbers in, these drivers might experience a little bit of wheel spin, which, you know, could make the truck go sideways a little bit, which if they make contact, you never know what can happen. You know, like that's what I kind of like to go about these races. I you know, learn from these little restarts you have and use it to your advantage later in the race.
No, absolutely. And you talked about rubbering in. You can tell the track is crystal clear here. No rubber has been put down just yet.
Let's check back with you in 10 laps.
Yeah, part of that reason is at lap 15, we haven't really run any green flag laps just yet. As you can tell now, a lot of drivers still on pit road. But
it looks like the field is kind of getting single file, though. Looks like they're calming down a little bit. I know it looks like a hornet's nest in the back, but there is a little bit of room to be had there. Hopefully we can get a nice green flag run here.
When we're looking at the back of Jeremy Hebel's truck here, looking at the back of the field, it does look like most of them are single file. There is a side-by-side battle with Matthew Pont here. He's battling the 30 of Terrence Sinay, who's gotten past. He's also battling the 50 of Jeffrey Meyer, and the 18 of, or not the 18, the 87 of Casey Drake. Casey Drake had a great run last week, looking to continue that momentum here at Atlanta. Looking at that side-by-side battle here. Almost 3 wide. It looks like they are, and they will go 3 wide. Casey Drake through the grass. Certainly, again, some of these drivers haven't quite learned from the other 2 cautions that we've had here.
The only thing they're doing right now is hurting themselves racing this hard 5 laps into a run. I mean, they need to. We learned that firsthand, you know, single-handedly last night, that those first 5 laps matter, but after that you need to chill out. Otherwise, in 5 laps more, the guy behind you is going to. It's like a, you know, it's a catch-22. You don't want to give up that position, but you got to think of your racing future, if you will.
Right.
You know, you got to plan down the road a little bit. Otherwise, you simply won't be successful, especially on a hot Atlanta track.
Well, and that's the thing with league racing. It is not a sprint, it is a marathon. Casey Drake still trying to fight inside of the 38 here of Matthew Pont. Pont has dropped back a few positions from that last restart, the restart before this last one, where he did restart second. Now he's trying to stay in 6th position as Casey Drake continues his relentless charge on the inside there. Otherwise, Jarrett Hebel has caught Jarrett Rogers, or Jeremy Hebel has caught Jarrett Rogers, and he is now looking to the inside.
That's the pleasure of starting 2nd place, is you can let that leader get out to a gap. And sometimes when you're leading, it's very, very easy to not be disciplined and overdrive the corner, trying to maintain the gap to 2nd place, where in fact 2nd place could just be riding there, you know, taking it really easy, and for this exact moment to happen where you can just kind of run him right back down and maybe force Jared into a mistake or pass him here. It looks like he's kind of trying to look underneath him, maybe into 3. Nope, tucks back in. But I mean, that's kind of how you'll see the experienced drivers that, you know, we've seen here last year. That's kind of what they're gonna. It's more of a, you know, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon type of race in some of these longer races that we have.
Well, and we saw just coming off of that corner there, Jarrett Rogers already experiencing a little bit of loose truck syndrome, as he's already moved up a couple grooves. We saw in that last lap, he was not on the bottom as Jeremy Hebel is. Getting that great run off the corner though, but he also is not doing his tires any favors here, as Jeremy Hebel is backing up his corners a little bit better here, trying to maintain that gap to Jarrett, assuming that as soon as he wears out his stuff, he'll be able to capitalize and attack. But you're doing a great job.
That high line kind of surprises me, because last night it did not work.
No, it did not.
And we didn't really see it in the cup broadcast either. So I'm kind of, you know, if knowing what I know, it's weird to me that these guys are even trying it and not going what has been proven. But these trucks are different. They do handle a lot differently, and the speeds aren't as great. So, you know, like, whoa! That was a fantastic save by the one there, because he was gone. You know, back to what I was talking about. this high line, it's a tough thing to do, but you do get the run off the corner where the bottom lane cannot.
Oh, the 78.
And we're seeing it first-handedly that these guys being super aggressive, super early, that this is the type of stuff that happens 10 laps in of, of a run.
We're going to go back and watch Tristan Anderson on the exit of one here. He gets his left tires just over that white line, and you can see that is an absolute handful to save. He does end up saving it, though, but he loses several positions here, so now he's battling Terrence Sine to try to maintain that top 5 position. He will just be all the wiser by just letting him go here. But you can tell one little mistake here, the 78, especially in these momentum-based trucks, the 78 will go from fighting for second to fighting just to stay in the top 10 in a matter of laps here.
Yeah, now the downside is he's got that, once you slide the tires even a little bit, it scrubs off, quite a bit of grip. So he's going to have his hands full here until we either get green flag pit stops or we get a caution. Hopefully he can maintain, calm down a little bit, and get back into a rhythm that works for him and not overdrive.
We're currently looking back just outside the top 10. David Lindahl, Derek Pemberton, we're battling side by side. A little bit of contact was there. But we're going to shift our focus to this very tight battle here just in front of them for basically 9th to 5th as Jeremy Hebel has caught Jarrett Rogers once again, and once he does try to attempt to pass here, we will move to the front. But right now, still very aggressive driving here in these trucks, and that's the kind of driving or the type of style that these trucks almost promote, because it's very hard to break away from anybody in these trucks because there's so much grip and there's so little horsepower compared to the other 2 cars that we see on Monday and Tuesday nights.
Yeah, I'm almost wondering, I didn't really feel it too much last night. I'm wondering if the draft is kind of existing here a little bit. As we watch Casey Drake here kind of tuck up underneath the one truck. If I'm Casey right now, I'm taking my time. Let these 2 battle. You got nothing to, you can't win it on lap 29, so as he gets on the bottom here and doesn't listen.
No, and Casey Drake, he has stayed committed to the bottom. You see, most of these trucks have moved off that bottom groove already. The leaders, though, and as I talked about earlier, the leaders have 29 laps on their tires. Casey Drake has 19. At some point, that advantage of having the fresher tires does go away, but right now, he's trying to capitalize on having those 10-lap fresher tires here. And perhaps he can get up and lead a lap or something like that, but if he tries too hard, he's going to kill his own advantage because he'll wear out his stuff trying to pass these guys as they are
3 wide.
Looking at 3 wide there on the exit of turn 4 here.
Well, Casey Drake doing a nice job of just being patient there, picking and choosing when he needed to go, when he needed to wash down. And I'm watching the 4th place truck of Jeffrey Meyer. He's coming into the picture here too. So some of these guys that restarted in the back, their tires are now shining. Where these front 2, they're struggling a little.
We're on board here with Casey Drake, looking at how much wheel input he's putting into this truck, and it still seems very, very stable. So that's a good sign. Even as he's battling for position here, trying to take the lead here from Jarrett Rogers. He has not left that bottom groove in several laps, so we'll see what he can do here. Looking at those hands, they're a little bit busier, but he seems to have it well under control here. As instead of Jeremy Hebel attacking and trying to get the lead, Casey Drake is trying to pick off both of these guys as Hebel comes in hot. And you talk about Jeffrey Meyer coming into the picture. He is now part of the picture. He has officially joined this group that have been side by side. Caution's out.
Like the 96 David Wellborn.
We'll try to get a replay of that here. Looking here at David Wellborn. He is another one with the running side by side here.
It's like he just kind of gets loose and just can't quite hang on to it.
Well, and we saw how busy Casey Drake had to be to keep it from spinning. We also saw Tristan Anderson not be able to save it, really. You know, he lost so many spots on a very similar incident there. So passing here proving to be quite difficult. I do expect all these leaders to come in.
Oh, they're all coming right now. Yeah, I mean, they have to. If they don't, they're going to cause caution. I mean, we seen last night single-handedly that the top line wasn't terrible, but if a guy knew how to get around on the bottom, you could almost force the guy on top to overdrive a little bit. So I'm wondering if that's kind of what Jared's strategy here is by running that mid to high lane.
Correct.
We've seen that Casey couldn't quite clear him. Casey needs that room to come up the track off of exit. And, you know, normally on most tracks that's available if you're running the bottom. But here, the top lane gets such a run, which doesn't allow the bottom car to come up, which in turn chews up tires. So we'll see once everybody's on a fair playing ground what comes of it, I guess.
Well, Casey Drake did make the most of those fresh tires that he had. He has now put himself up into the second spot. As these guys do clear pit road and get straightened back out, DRL TV is going to take a quick commercial break. We will return in about 60 seconds and get you started here. Lap 33 of 82 here on DRL TV.
Assist to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Ray Alfala into the outside wall.
He's going to pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's going to get them all done with. What amazing
lead to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is going to touch in. Pit press sideways. What a save!
Look to the outside as Cronkite goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
Trying this contact though.
Wide left of the racetrack. Chris Venner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact. He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cutback here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Makashube, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to DRL TV. 1 lap to go here as the field is getting ready to reset itself. Just take a quick reminder here, if you like the broadcast here, if there's a favorite driver that you root for week in, week out, make sure that you hit the subscribe and like button here on YouTube. You'll be notified anytime we go live, normally 3 times a week. We have the Truck Series here on Wednesdays, Grand National Series on Tuesdays that feature the B car, and on Mondays we have the best drivers that DRL has to offer on the A car. Again, every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Make sure you hit the subscribe and like button, and you can watch us all week long as we bring you live racing all season, all the way through November here. Pace car off here, Ryan. A little bit of rubber laid down, a little bit of cloud cover here on this restart. Are these drivers going to be aggressive, or are they going to chill out here?
I could see a handful of them being aggressive here, trying to get as much as they can right away while the grip levels are high. I could also see a few guys that were in the picture, like a Casey Drake, Jeffrey Meyer, maybe taking it a little easier than they did, knowing now that they're going to catch back up.
Right. Well, Jarrett Rogers just gets another great jump here. We're seeing that the leader has a bigger advantage here than we've seen all week long. But Jeffrey Meyer trying to take that third spot away from Casey Drake while the tires are fresh. Jeremy Hebel closes the door on him, and the 78 of Tristan Anderson rounds out your top 5 here. Hebel gets a great run here on Jarrett Rogers. He's going to look inside.
Now's the time to take advantage of these tire levels and this little bit of overcast here. As we see, he dives it in there deep.
Meyer.
Can come up.
Meyer dives it in deep and almost got him a little bit of Jarrett Rogers quarter panel there. As we're watching these drivers now circle the backstretch, coming into turn 3 and 4, Hebel desperately wants those points here. And Jarrett Rogers, this might be the first laps that he hasn't led under green flag conditions here, as now he's battling for second place, trying to keep Jeffrey Meyer and Casey Drake behind him. But Jeremy Hebel is your new leader. Lap 38 of 82. It's a good time to take the lead here. And we saw last night as well, and I even said it when I was interviewed last night, the guys that are up front at the beginning of this race aren't necessarily going to be the same guys that you see at the end of this race, especially once the track changes and rubbers in here. As you can see, Jarrett Rogers struggling on this restart, getting ready to get passed by Casey Drake and Tristan Anderson just behind him. The 6 of Corey Sherman, ready to pounce if he makes a little bit of a mistake here, going from first to possibly not even being in the top 5 in a matter of laps.
I'm just hoping Hebel doesn't overdrive it now that he's in the front.
Well,
as we look at Meyer kind of diving in underneath him.
Well, Meyer comes in, slides up just a little bit there. Hebel gives him the room. Looks like Meyer will lead this. Well, maybe not.
Ooh, close.
We'll ride on board with Tristan Anderson, and this is the battle that he gets to see. Just back here patiently waiting as Jarrett Rogers tries to get back around Casey Drake here on the inside. Jeffrey Meyer has passed Jeremy Hebel 100% of the way and will definitely be leading this lap. But, I mean, you look at all the movement from these trucks. These rear ends are just sliding all over the place here, and we do have a yellow flag again. Not sure where that yellow flag was.
Looks like we got the 44 involved. Dakota Wilkins.
All right. We are riding with Dakota Wilkins now. We will get that replay to you in 1 second here. We're riding with Dakota Wilkins here. And let's see what he sees. Not exactly sure there. On my screen, he actually blinked out. I'm not exactly.
He blinks out on mine too. And we have some sort of little incident there. I don't know if they're trying to get on pit road or something. Something happened there while watching this replay. That there was a pretty big pile in turn 3 and 4. I'll investigate.
Well, while you investigate here, we will see the battle off pit road.
Jeffrey Meyer spun out.
Jeffrey Meyer spun out. Okay, we'll try to get that replay here.
He's waiting for the pace car. The next thing I can see is that he's sideways into the wall. Everything that I'm hearing in the race chat is no damage incurred, but when he got back on the gas, he just kind of just spun out. So it's another testament of how much grip there isn't.
Well, I do apologize not being able to give you the replay, kind of what happened there, but we're seeing here there's definitely a stoppage. That wasn't the caution.
This is after the caution.
This is after the
waiting
caution.
for the pace car to catch up.
We're watching it now. So this is after the caution has been waived, but as far as what the caution was, I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I will not be able to bring that to you, though. Just past halfway here, though, Ryan. What has surprised you so far about the race that we've seen?
I'm surprised to see that top groove is somewhat working. That didn't work at all in the other 2 races that I've watched. So that's a surprise. And I'm kind of surprised at how hard these guys are racing, knowing that their tires are going to go away. Hopefully we can, once again, calm down a little bit and get a nice green flag run and get a good run to the finish. I'm curious to see if a top lane will prevail if we get a, even a longer run. I could see one of them fantastic Atlanta finishes coming up soon here.
I apologize there. We do have 31 drivers that started this race. We only have 19 now that are on the lead lap. Actually, 18 rather. Chris Rice is the last car 1 lap down. Or the final car on the lead lap here. People that were involved in earlier wrecks like Richard Springer, Dakota Wilkins, Robbie, they're still in the race. Maybe a lap or 2 down. But it seems like right now there's no one driver that is setting themselves apart from the rest, as we've seen Casey Drake make a great push. We've seen Jeremy Hebel make a great push. We've seen Jarrett Rogers, who led the most of the first half of this race. Right now we have Matthew Pont here on the starting this race out, but I believe he's on much older tires. It's telling me right now that he has 44 lap old tires. I'm not sure that is actually true, but Roy Grande Jr. Also will be leading this field on the outside row, so they're going to have the older tires. We'll see the difference here in tire wear momentarily. This could be a little sketchy here, Ryan. We know that pit strategy doesn't always pay off here, but Matthew Pont will lead this field to the green flag here. He crosses the restart line and he is off. Yep, Grande spins his tires a little bit there. Does keep it under control. Pont, however, was able to keep it well underneath him there, and he will gap Hebel by just a few truck lengths here, exiting 1 and 2. Roy, however, will be dropping back a little bit. He also had, as you mentioned earlier in the race, a little bit of damage from that first caution. Not a lot to kill your race, but when you partner that with already worn tires, certainly that's not a recipe for success here, as he has just now found out.
So, by Roy doing that, I know in the Cup Series, these 10 guys that passed him, now they know, do not take 2 tires.
Do not take 2 tires, do not take no tires, yep.
I don't think it's going to hurt Roy too bad. I mean, he's kind of been back in the, fighting for top 10-ish, top 15-ish all night. So, now he knows as well that, yep, that doesn't work. I tried my best. I actually survived it. I didn't get ran over. These guys didn't get ruined. So take what he knows now. Maybe he can, maybe he can actually work his way up there and get himself in a position where he would have 4 fresh tires.
Yeah, we're riding on board with Matthew Pont, who looks like he has a handful of truck right now, and he's getting ready to lose a few more positions to 73 and 6 to chasing him. We move back up here to the front, though. Jeremy Hebel takes that lead over. Jarrett Rogers, Casey Drake are your top 3. Tristan Anderson, who did have that almost spin earlier, has rebounded nicely in 4th. Pont still in 5th, but potentially looking to lose those positions to Ryan Brady, and we'll actually move back to this battle here as Jeffrey Meyer also, he is now trying to find a way to make up those lost spots from that yellow flag snafu. Riding on board here with Jeffrey Meyer as we are just about ready to approach 50 laps out of the 82 scheduled here at Atlanta.
Watching Myers, his hand movement is, you can tell he's battling the truck, but he doesn't look like he's overdriving it, which is only going to help him. Yeah,
looking at his hands, and then we'll move to the hands of Matthew Pont here and see what it looks like he has to do here as we enter turns 1 and 2. And he's on the outside as well, so there should be less hand movement. It still looks pretty stable, but he just doesn't have the speed that these guys on the fresh tires have. And Matthew Pont, who restarted first just a few laps ago, is now back to 9th, just getting passed here by PJ O'Leary. Now Jeremy Hebel, he is up here with Jarrett Rogers, Casey Drake, and it looks like a lap truck here is just in between the two of them. That is the damaged truck, I believe Daniel Holloway. Yep, and that is Daniel Holloway here, who currently is, I'm trying to find him here on the score sheet. Holloway is 15 laps down in 25th position.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate night for him. But, you know, Daniel's got the talent, and he's got the experience. He's going to be a force in this in the truck series this year. While it may not be the start of the season that they necessarily want, I wouldn't be too worried about him. If I'm him, I'm not getting discouraged. You know, he knows he has the talent level to compete. Hopefully, he can just put a full race together here and come back strong in Las Vegas.
Yeah, he did have a pretty decent finish at Daytona, but Atlanta not having the same luck here as his teammate, Jeffrey Meyer, is still trying to work its way around the 6th truck, but he has now moved to the outside instead of the inside, as we are looking out of the back of Ryan Brady's 73 vehicle here. A little bit of overcast right now, so these guys might be finding a little bit extra grip as Jeffrey Meyer does complete that pass. Now we are on lap 52 of 82. These drivers are getting a little bit strung out. I believe this might be a perfect opportunity for the announcers to maybe not talk as much and let these trucks do a little bit of talking. What do you think, Ryan?
I think we should rev it up.
I think we're going to rev it up here on DRL TV. Hate to interrupt the rev it up, but we saw David Lindvall absolutely annihilate the outside wall here, so we're going to get a replay of that. It looks like the 26 of Daniel Holloway kind of got messed up here in this group of trucks here. David Lindvall getting the worst of it as we're riding with him now.
I'm really surprised I didn't bring out a caution to collect anybody else. He hit that wall a ton.
Ooh, yeah, he had to hit the brakes. There was a huge checkup, and oh man, you gotta feel for David. You gotta feel for David. That is, I mean, he's just trying to do the right thing and not run anyone over. And with the puff of smoke out the back, that is at least a half an hour of repairs that will be needed for David Lindahl. Tough break for him.
Definitely. You know, these guys with the lap trucks don't help, and I think it's a little bit of impatience there trying to get around them that ultimately cost David.
Now looking up here at the leader, we just saw Jarrett Rogers scrape the outside wall, and looking here, I normally don't use this camera view here, but I'm gonna do it anyway if I have it. We're looking at the front of Jeremy Hebel's Chevy, and he has some front end damage as well as Jarrett Rogers falls way back. Also with the right end.
Talked about all race long. Tristan Anderson just moved into P2.
Yep, the difference between he and the leaders is he has a clean truck, even though he did have that little mini spin early on, and we were talking about heating up his tires. But Jarrett Rogers has right side damage, as does Jeremy Hebel, and Jeffrey Meyer all of a sudden is in 4th place, looking to take his truck back up front. Casey Drake rounds out your top 5, but interestingly enough, Ryan, we didn't really talk about, we talked about the looseness of the track, we talked about the grip level here. We didn't really bring up the fact that that turn 2 wall is going to claim some victims, and we're seeing now that it has already.
You know, it's funny, it reminds me, you and I were in our practice session yesterday, we were kind of joking about the Las Vegas banner, how it doesn't, most times when these cars apex off the corner, come out of the turn, there's some sort of banner there that I personally shoot for, or I shoot to miss. We were talking about the Las Vegas one. I don't see a banner in turn 2.
No, it is just a pure white track all the way around.
Pure white wall. So I'm wondering if some of these guys, you know, like myself, are looking for some sort of mark to judge if they're going to make the turn or not, like you see here off the Keeble off of turn 4. It could be playing havoc with some of these newer guys, these rookies. Definitely something these guys need to adjust and pay attention to, otherwise they will end their race very, very quickly.
Well, another thing that we think of is, I mean, even if you are an experienced driver, in DRL, we only go to Atlanta once a year. So if you are a strict league racer and you maybe don't partake in the official side very often, which we have a lot of drivers, some of our champions like Wade Hustad, Eric Wolf, they don't do a lot of oval official racing. They only practice and race league races. So some of these guys that only go, when we only go here once a year, it's kind of a hard adjustment. I mean, whether you've been on iRacing for 7 years, if DRL had been around for 7 years, we've only would have gone to Atlanta 7 times. They took the second spot away from Atlanta years ago, so we only come here once. Pardon me again. So, you know, part of the thing, like I've been on iRacing for a while, and last night was my first league race in the B car at Atlanta, and you know, with 20 laps to go, we've done 63 laps, so this might be some of the first laps that some of these guys are doing here.
Yeah, for on the long run. That's why I said I kind of was watching Jeffrey Meyer and a lot of these other guys, they weren't practicing their hot laps, which if this goes green, this plays right into their wheelhouse, where maybe a Jarrett Rogers and Jeremy Hebel will suffer a little bit. Now, that doesn't mean they can't race. Don't get me wrong. They just may not. They might have to adapt on the fly. Which these two guys are. Jeremy Hebel is very good at. He's a he's a talented driver, and he can get the best out of the truck, whatever is thrown at him. So we'll look to see here if we do finish under green and maybe 10 more laps, we can really tell the who's who of the tire management game.
Well, and we spoke with Jeremy Hebel, and and Atlanta doesn't necessarily play into his specific skill set. He mentioned that these looser tracks can kind of be a little bit more difficult for him here. Currently, right now, he is pulling ahead, even with that damage that he has. He's pulling ahead of Tristan Anderson. He is now 0.8 of a second out. We're currently looking at Jeffrey Meyer, who is 3 seconds back from Jeremy Hebel, and Jarrett Rogers, who also has right side damage. We saw him scrape the wall, and ever since then, he's been falling like a rock. He went from being 0.2 off of Jeremy Hebel to now almost 3 seconds here, as Jeffrey Meyer does look inside. Jarrett Rogers,
Jarrett Rogers is having his hands full right now. If I'm Jarrett, I let Jeffrey Meyer go, and I regather my composure so I'm able to finish this.
Right, because, I mean, we also mentioned at the top of this broadcast, Jarrett Rogers is coming off of a very disappointing Daytona finish where he and his teammate got into each other and actually wrecked. So you see Jarrett Rogers, you can almost see his frustration, you can almost see his desperation with the way he's driving, but he's got to understand. Oh, and we see Jeffrey Meyer get a little bit loose there on the inside. He's got to understand it's a long season. A lot of these guys, these newer guys here in our lower series, this is our, what you call the feeder series. Some of these guys may not understand league racing. These are longer races, and it's a very long season. It's not like the 12-week season that you have in iRacing if you're trying to do the points thing. The Truck Series, because of the Truck Series administration, not only have they made the races longer from last year, they've also made the season longer. Instead of the 24 scheduled races, we have bumped it up to 35. Instead of running what would have been 65 laps, we've increased it almost to, almost like a quarter of a fuel run, which in these trucks is a lot. So you're seeing some of these guys maybe, especially in Jarrett Rogers, maybe driving with a little bit too much desperation, not understanding that, hey, it's a long race, it's also a long season.
Yeah. The thing between league racing and official racing, for me, third place in officials is okay. If you're in the top split, that's a great finish. League racing, third place is 10 times that for me. If I can survive and get third place, I only gain points, and that's ultimately what the league racing is about. It's about winning the championship overall. I had a fantastic season last year. It didn't mean squat because I didn't come home with a trophy at the end of the year.
That's true.
Where the official races is 9 times out of 10. There's so many races you have to do in such a short amount of time that competing for a quote-unquote season championship is, for a lot of guys, unrealistic. But for league racing, they have to look at big picture stuff, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with top 5s to top 10s.
No, and absolutely nothing wrong at all. And speaking of the big picture, right now our fastest truck on the track by almost 2 full tenths there on that last lap was Tristan Anderson, who's starting to reel in Jeremy Hebel just a bit. That lead was up to 8 tenths. He's now cut that almost in half. And he's starting to reel in our leader as we just approach 10 to go here. Last year we had a fight to the finish, a last lap pass by someone who had not led a lap all day. Well, how many laps has Tristan Anderson led this race, Ryan?
It's a 0.
That's a big old 0. That's a big old goose egg. Jeremy Hebel might be on the receiving end of his own move from last season here at Atlanta. As Tristan Anderson is starting to reel him in. He was a 10th faster than him that last time, running a 33.1 versus Jeremy Hebel's 33.2. And Jeffrey Meyer also running a 33.2. Jarrett Rogers running 33.3s. Right now, Tristan Anderson seems to be in a great spot right now to maybe capitalize and get his first win here in the Dynasty Racing League.
Atlanta has a history of providing us with some fantastic finishes here.
No, in DRL and in NASCAR, the most memorable finish I can ever think of, besides the Darlington finish with Ricky Craven and Kurt Busch, is the battle that Bobby Labonte and Dale Earnhardt had. That's the highlight that I grew up on, and here it's shaping up to be something similar. Tristan Anderson now, if the draft does play a factor here, he is now in his draft all the way. Whether that affects his grip or not, or whether that affects the ability to pass him, is a whole different story. But guess what, Jeremy Hebel, you got some company, buddy.
Yeah, and this is bad news for Hebel, because now instead of watching up the front of the windshield, he's got to look out the back one too. So hopefully, now we're going to see some. We have lap traffic coming, so it's going to be a. Oh boy. I'm turning into race fan instead of announcer here, but it's just getting excited.
Yeah, no, Jeremy Hebel, we've got 2 lap cars about half a corner ahead here, but in his rearview mirror, he has a bow tie in his rearview mirror, which it used to be the nose of a truck, and now it is now the hood of Tristan Anderson. But guess what? Catching him and passing him is 2 different things. Now Tristan Anderson's got to find a way to pass him up. And one way I would do it here, ooh, Jeremy Hebel gets a little loose. Tristan Anderson, I would not pass him on the inside, though. I would look to try to enter high. Oh, he's going to use a pick. He's going to use this lap truck as a pick.
Tristan Anderson has about not even 2 laps. He's got about a lap and a half to make this pass. If we get a caution, it's... So he's got to go right now. He's got to do everything he can. He's got her down there. He's pinned down. Hopefully, hopefully he can keep her down there, keep her from washing up a little bit, maintain that grip level. But as we get really close, they're off the top.
Tristan Anderson already spun trying to do a pass on the inside, so that might be in the back of his mind, and that might actually, he might be a little too conservative trying to make a pass on the inside. What I need to see him do is enter high in 1 and 2 and cross him over. But right now he is trying to take the shortest way around the track, not necessarily the fastest at this stage, as we are 35 laps into this green flag run.
There there's another lap car in front, which could play a huge factor. It's going to throw off. This is going to be. We're going to catch him right here. He's pulling off. That's good. No factor there. That's a good move by the
94 there, Matt LeBlanc.
94, that's a good move by.
And here comes Tristan. If he wants to make this pass, he's got to do it on the outside. I don't see a pass happening on the inside. A year ago, Jeremy Hebel caught and passed Eric Johnson on the outside, and that was at the end.
Run here. Closes right back up on the bump. There's a couple moves he could try to do. The bump and run is not a good idea, but he could essentially sail him off into the corners and force people into overdriving his engine.
We are riding on board with Tristan Anderson here. He enters high. Is he going to cross him over? It doesn't. He's not trying to get back to the bottom. We have 4 laps to go. And Jeffrey Meyer, for those fans of Jeffrey Meyer here, he is in 3rd place, 5 seconds back. Casey Drake in 4th, PJ O'Leary in 5th, a name that we have not mentioned much. Ryan Branch is the first car.
One mistake is all it takes, though. We've seen it in the Cup Series.
Ryan Branch is the first car 1 lap down. Cody Gatsky, however, I believe is just ahead of these 2 guys. 3 laps to go, Ryan. These guys are running out of time here. Ooh, Hebel gets a little bit of loose there. It looks like Tristan did as well. Looks like Tristan's pushing a little bit too hard there. He kind of came up in the center of that corner, which means he is overdriving far past what his grip level on his tires is allowing. When you move up there and when you slide up in the center, that means you are not doing it correctly. You need to back up that corner a little bit more and try to get that run on exit. 2 laps to go.
Will we see a mistake by either driver that allows an opportunity for first or second to get away, or will we see something like happen in the Cup Series as we're coming here to the
one lap to go. 1 lap to go. This
is all for the marbles.
This is for every marble we've got here. After a caution-filled first half of the race, we end this race on a 40-lap stint. Tristan Anderson doing everything he can to get around Jeremy. Jeremy will have the preferred line on exit here. Both drivers push up here on exit. Coming out of the corner, they will be side by side to the start-finish line. It looks like
Hebel's got a little bit of a run here. Oh, what a fantastic! Great drive off by Hebel. Good win.
Jeremy Hebel, for the 2nd year in a row, conquers Atlanta. Tristan Anderson, though, if he's done anything, he has shown that, guess what, guys? I'm going to be here this season. And that's the cool thing about Atlanta. This is their first non-restrictor plate race, and this is where these guys shine. Jeffrey Meyer finishes 3rd. Casey Drake 4th. PJ O'Leary 5th. Corey Sherman 6th. Jarrett Rogers, a disappointing 7th. Ryan Brady 8th. Jordan Berry 9th. And Chris Rice will round out your top 10 here. Matthew Pont on those old tires, it didn't quite pay off. He finishes 12th. The last car on the lead lap. We will look at Jeremy Hebel celebrate by burning it down here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Well, Ryan, we got a pretty good treat of a race there at the end after a caution-filled first half that took out a great many competitive trucks. But at the end of the day, it was Jeremy Hebel and his veteran savvy here, even with that damage. As you kind of alluded to earlier, or I think we spoke about it even last night, this is a driver's track, and the veteran drivers came to the top here. DRL veteran number 1, a DRL veteran in 3rd, DRL veteran in 4th, and a DRL veteran in 5th.
Yeah, overall, great race by these guys. It's a lot of stuff that these guys can learn, even taking into next week, because it is a very similar line. I personally don't know about tire wear yet. I'm sure it's not nearly as great as Atlanta. But now these guys know the who's who, who's here, where their next level needs to be to increase their finish position here. So this was the first true test. Next week we'll see. I think we'll see the cream rise. Again, congrats to Jeremy. That was a heck of a finish.
Absolutely.
And like you said, Tristan Anderson is definitely here to stay.
No, absolutely. He did a great run here. We're going to pull in our third place driver, Mr. Jeffrey Meyer. Jeffrey, congratulations on your top 3. I know that this might be one of the few times where a top 3 could be considered a disappointment. You had a little bit of an interesting moment there under caution. You fought your way through the pack here. Instead of getting that win, which I think you were definitely shooting for, you definitely had the truck for, you come away with third. Tell us about that incident there.
Yeah, I was waiting for the pace car, and I should have kept rolling, but I ended up stopping, and then you just can't get going on tires on this track, and I just turned sideways, and I couldn't go forward. I had to back up and couldn't tell where the other trucks were. I was hoping people were giving me room to be able to back up so I get going again. So it put me back. I just back too far. I couldn't catch the leaders anymore.
Well, you didn't qualify incredible. You did qualify at the top half of the field. You were able to come out there. You were able to make incredible passes. You're definitely a presence in this race. Moving forward to Las Vegas, a place you have already won. Is that a track that you are looking to go repeat, or is it kind of a mentality of just getting top 3, top 5, or are you going to be going for the win next week?
I'll go for the win every week. Next week, next depends on the Cup guys, how many are in, and what I have to race against. But Vegas is one of my best tracks, and I hope to be able to dominate.
Awesome, Jeff. Well, it was good talking to you. Is there any shout-outs that you want to give to the broadcast here?
Thanks to you guys for putting on the broadcast. You do a good job. DRL for putting on the league, keeping all of us drivers happy. That's not always a easy task. And
there's a lot of drivers in this league, so no, it's very difficult to keep everyone happy. That is for sure.
Yeah, we all have our moments. So it's too bad for my teammate Daniel. He had a wheel issue tonight, but otherwise I thought he might have been up here in for sure a top 10. So. Got at least the top 3 for Bad Boys.
Well, I mean, as far as points are concerned, you had a great points race last week. You have a great points race this week. Moving into Vegas, go get that win, buddy, and we'll see you next week. And enjoy your week off, or not the week off, but enjoy your racing until next Wednesday is what I'm trying to say.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, that was Jeffrey Meyer finishing third here, talking about Daniel Halloway. I thought he was caught up in that first caution. Apparently, it was more of an equipment issue. But let's bring in our second place driver, Mr. Tristan Anderson. Tristan Anderson, you got a copy?
I got you.
Well, welcome to the DRL TV booth. This is your first visit, I believe. You came out. Yeah, we thought you had something for Jeremy. Kind of walk us through those final laps.
Yeah, well, I felt like I was quite a bit faster in the corners, but with the tires as worn as they were, it was really hard to get a run and hard to make it stick. So I was just kind of running the laps, trying to figure out where I can make a move and where I was a bit faster, and I just couldn't get anything for him.
Well, regardless of whether you were able to pass him or not, you certainly caught him from a ways back, almost 8/10 there. You kept your truck clean. You had a little bit of a scare there earlier in the race, fighting for a position on the inside. You got those tires heated up. You dropped back to, I think it was almost as far as 10th, but you fought your way back up through the field. A great performance. Ryan and I both said it. This is the type of performance that allows you to announce your presence here in the DRL Truck Series. Would you agree?
I would definitely agree. I also I prefer this track over almost any of the others. Atlanta is one of my favorites, and I just love the racing it creates.
Awesome. Well, you know what? What we do here on DRL TV is at the end of our interviews, I'll ask Ryan if he has anything for you, and then we'll ask you for shout-outs. You can shout out to your family, anyone watching. Ryan, do you have anything here for Mr. Tristan?
Yeah, so knowing that you know now from Atlanta, the top side kind of comes in. Las Vegas is kind of a mid to top lane track. Do you think you can take anything that you've learned in this race and apply it to next week to maybe one position better yourself?
There are a few things that I'll be taking notes of, but I don't want to give any of my secrets away. So
understandable.
No,
I'll hopefully talk to you guys again next.
You're speaking to two guys that certainly believe in that.
That's right.
Well, Tristan, again, like I said, we at the end of each interview, we allow you the opportunity to shout out. So shout out to anyone you want here.
Yeah, I'd like to just thank Realty Executives for sponsoring our Momentum Sim Racing team, and my teammate Jordan Barry for just being able to communicate during the race, seeing what lines work and everything. And I'd also like to give a shout out to my dad because it is his birthday today.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
I'm gonna stop right there. But hey, happy birthday, Dad! I guess a better birthday present would have just been one more position there, buddy. But
I was trying.
A second place and a good show. I mean, one thing that you also proved here, the DRL is a gentleman's league, and you proved that you are willing to fight the good fight, race the good race at any opportunity there. Of course, you could have bumped Jeremy out of the way, and you would have had that win, but you didn't, and that's earning respect out here on a 35-week season. That's actually more important than anything, man. So you did it. Yeah, you ran a great race.
There were certainly a few times it was going through my head, but I like to race clean, so I was going to take a second over a wreck.
Well, if you like to race clean, you are in the right league, sir. It was good talking to you, and hopefully we talk to you next week.
Thank you, guys. See you then.
Now we're going to move down here and talk to that other guy here. That other guy being the race winner, Jeremy Hebel. We spoke to you at the beginning of the race. You said Atlanta's not necessarily your favorite track of all time, but you won it last season in a similar fashion that you actually had to hold off this season. Tristan Anderson was trying to pull a Jeremy Hebel on Jeremy Hebel, but he didn't quite, man. Congratulations on the win.
Yeah, thank you.
Go through, we noticed you had a little bit of right side damage, though, but go through the final laps of that race with us.
Yeah, kind of going back to the beginning a little bit. I don't know if those first couple cautions with us staying out made the tires feel a little funny, but kind of got a little worried there. When we had that first long run, I kind of wasn't able to hold up the front, and the truck really got loose really quick. But on this final green flag run, I really didn't get loose off the corners until about that last 10 laps. It felt really good, and I think that's what kind of helped me get out to the lead and stay out there. But I think Tristan was saving up his tires and saving for a run there at the end, and I think we put on a pretty good show. It was fun racing with him.
No, that was an absolutely great show. This might be the second week in a row where the DRL Truck Series has the best finish of the three. Incredible fight by both of you. What questions for you? Sorry, let me try that again. What questions do you have for Jeremy here, Ryan?
I'll shoot the same question I asked Tristan. In the other two races that we watched and that we ran in, the top lane here was non-existent. So being able to run the top lane in Atlanta should transfer over to Las Vegas. So I guess my question is, knowing what you know now, how do you like your chances in Vegas next week?
I hope they're pretty good. I remember the first race we ran. I did pretty good until I hit the wall, actually coming to a caution, and that gave me some right front damage, and then the truck wasn't right after that. But hopefully it's not anything like the fall race there last year, because I just got way too loose, and I wasn't too well in that race. But hopefully if Atlanta's anything like Las Vegas here, I think we'll be in for a pretty good show and a pretty good run.
Well, for the second year in a row, you will be the defending race winner at Atlanta, Jeremy. Congratulations again. Give us any shout-outs that you have, buddy.
Yeah, give a shout out to my teammates Dakota and Craig. Tom, too, he couldn't make it tonight. Everybody that helps put on the league, all the race admins, everybody's doing race control. Everybody keeps it going. You guys putting on the broadcast. It's always nice to go back and watch the highlights and lowlights. Depending on how the race turns out. So, yeah, that's about it.
Awesome, Jeremy. Well, congratulations on the win. You are now in the playoffs, which certainly probably wasn't a huge doubt in your mind, but for now, it is 100% fact. You are a playoff driver, also an Atlanta winner. So we will see you next week, and hopefully we can talk to you again in just about the same light here, being a top 3 driver.
All right, I hope so. Thanks.
All right, we'll move him down to FMS Racing. And before we get too carried away, we look at the unofficial results here. Jeremy Hebel leading 40 laps. Jarrett Rogers led 34. That is your top 10 there. Moving here through the field. A lot of names down here with disappointing finishes. Richard Springer, Robbie Armstrong, Ryan Branch, Cody Gatsky, Daniel Holloway, who had that issue. Dakota Wilkins does not get 2 wins in a row. Matt LeBlanc, who had a good run last week at Daytona, doesn't quite get his finish that he had or that he wanted. Derek Pemberton several laps down, and David Wellborn also several laps down from that spin that he had earlier. One thing that I will say, Ryan, is that it was an absolute pleasure broadcasting with you this week. Did an amazing job. And Atlanta is officially in the books as we move to next week. Again, as we noted earlier, Las Vegas Motor Speedway, 100 laps, Ryan. What do you expect next week in the Truck Series?
I think I haven't ran any official races or anything like that, so I'm kind of just winging it here, going by my previous knowledge. I could see Atlanta being a little bit more tight-based with bigger groupings with the truck. Instead of getting loose, I could see the trucks getting really, really tight. So whoever can, again, manage their tires the best, it should prevail. That's a perfect world. That's no cautions and all that stuff. I look for another good race in the Truck Series. I think the other 2 series also are going to be great races. A little bit of a relief coming out of Atlanta. They don't have to worry about spinning out every corner. But
right.
Overall, I think it's 2 completely different tracks, 2 completely different skill sets. We know Jeremy Hebel can wheel a loose race car. I'll be interested to see if he can do it to a tight one as well.
Right. Now, and you mentioned last week, or you mentioned other series next week. Our next broadcast will be the DRL Cup Series. That's our top dogs. That's the Anthony Burrows. That's the Wade Hustads. That's the John Theodores. 133 laps. That will be a loose track with those cars, as just about every track is. One thing to note, that will be the first race with the new package that iRacing is rolling out for the A car.
That's right.
Please tune in for that race. It is going to be a crazy experience for everyone. The drivers, the broadcasters, we're basically going into a race with unknown everything. So that will be an absolute beautiful race to watch. Brian Branch will bring that to you, one of our best broadcasters. And I'll tell you what, the B Series, Ryan, I don't know. We kind of think they can put on a show too. So tune in next week for all those races. Here we roll out the credits. This is all the names that are involved here. We're talking about Race Control. Jeremy Hebel is actually part of Race Control, so a huge shout out to him as well in that regard. A crazy race tonight. We got the finish that we wanted. We didn't get the start that we wanted, but if we keep having trucks show up in the deep 30s, we're going to have an incredible season. And Ryan, again, I thank you very much for joining us tonight. This was Atlanta Motor Speedway. This was DRL TV. Please hit subscribe and like if you want to watch more of us. And I tell you what, thank you very much for joining, viewers. You're the only reason why we do this. So hopefully we see all of you return next week. I'm Getty Buckner. This was DRL TV. We'll see you next time.